The last thing I'm going to go over is how to avoid plagiarism and how to correctly cite articles. When you use the library website, it's actually really easy to get your citation. Click on the article that you're going to use, and then come over to the right side and click Cite. Scroll down to APA format, then all you have to do is copy and paste. You will then click Open to your reference page, which will be at the bottom of your paper or the end of your presentation, and paste the citation. Make sure once you've done this that you change it to APA formatting, so Times New Roman 12-point font. And for the reference page, you're going to do hanging indentation and double spaced. If you have more than one article you're citing, make sure that you have them in alphabetic order by the first author's last name. You can easily do this if there's multiple by highlighting and using paragraph ascending. To make sure that you have the right citation, it should look like this. You'll see the author's last name, first initial, and middle initial, followed by the other author's names, the year it was published, the title, and subtitle, if applicable, which you see here, the journal that it was published in, and the volume, both of which should be italicized, and finally the page numbers. You can leave this URL if you want, or you can simply delete it. Here are a few more examples of how an APA citation should look. If this were your list of references, you would want to make sure to put these in alphabetic order, so Berndt, then Miller, then Wegner. The rest of the formatting, though, is correct. Here you can see how it would look for one author, two authors, and if there's more than 7 authors. I will post a link to a helpful resource below this video, the Purdue Online Writing Lab, or Purdue OWL, which I'll also be referencing throughout the next few slides. So what is plagiarism? Here you can see a few definitions, but what will be going on is this third definition, the APA Ethics Code Standard. Psychologists do not present portions of another's work or data as their own, even if the other work or data source is cited occasionally. This is going to be true for not only your final project, but anything that you turn in, including the write-ups on your articles. So why do people plagiarize? There are 3 main reasons. First, blatant plagiarism. This is your basic copying and paste, maybe changing a few words, but it's still almost identical. This is when you know what you're doing is wrong. Next is memory problems. We don't have photographic memories, so sometimes you'll read something, come up with a similar idea a few years later, and then really not remember that the idea was someone else's. You see this often in book publishing. However, even though it's caused by a memory problem, it is still plagiarism. And finally, sloppiness. Some people just get lazy and don't try to see where the quotes they found came from, and if they are direct quotes or in their own words. Whatever the reason, make sure you don't plagiarize. There are 5 ways to avoid plagiarism. First, paraphrase. Read what you are wanting to cite and then put it into your own words. Do not copy verbatim more than 2 words in a row. If you use more than 2 words together, it is then a quote. Always make sure to cite following APA formatting, which we just went over. So anytime that you use someone else's work, make sure you include the last name and date in parentheses, what we call an in-text citation. Then include the full citation in the reference page at the end of your paper. Again, if you're not sure how to do this, use the Purdue OWL Online Writing Lab, which has all the information you could ever need to make sure you're citing everything correctly. When you're quoting someone, use the quote the way it appears. This is the only time that copying and pasting is acceptable. You want to make sure that you're getting exactly what the person says, have it in quotation marks, and then use an in-text citation to show who it belongs to. Again, if you're not sure how to do this, use Purdue OWL. Something that you might not think of but it is still important when avoiding plagiarism, is to make sure you cite your own material. If you've ever turned it in as a project or a paper for a class, then you need to cite yourself. There is such a thing as self-plagiarism and is the same as regular plagiarism. Finally, always include a reference page of the citations at the end of your paper, whether you use 1 citation or 100 citations. This should also be at the end of a presentation if you've used articles in your presentation. Your reference page should always meet APA citation requirements, which you can find out more about using Purdue OWL. That's it for this video. Make sure as you go through the next few weeks to always avoid plagiarism and cite your materials. If you ever have any questions, please shoot me an email or check Purdue OWL.